Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Barbara and this is Cycle Mapping. I would like to tell you more about the cycle today, so this is going to be a little bit more educational, I guess. But I believe that we haven't been really taught at school much about women's cycle. What we're taught usually is that women have menstruation and ovulation, and that's pretty much it, what we are taught. We're taught what's happening during the ovulation and what's happening during the menstruation. All women are experiencing menstruation unless they're unhealthy and something's wrong. It's actually a very good indicator about our health, and that's also something that we have to consider and think about. If we don't have enough nutrition and minerals and our body is not working properly, maybe we don't have enough weight, or we maybe are very overweight, our cycle might stop and we might not be menstruating. Sometimes we might not be ovulating. It's all about hormonal disbalance and really putting everything into balance and making sure that our body has all the nutrition, all minerals and everything that it needs so it can work properly. What is very cool about learning what our cycle is all about and what it means. Well, first of all, I would like to make a disclaimer. I'm not health nutritionist or a doctor or a nurse. I'm not trying to tell you what to do or what not to do. I'm just trying to share my experience and my knowledge, and I hope that that's gonna help you too somehow. What is also important to mention is that taking hormonal pills or any hormonal contraception doesn't mean that we have a woman's cycle. Woman's cycle is when our body is working as it's supposed to work, and the hormones that are in our body naturally are changing, and that's what the cycle is. If we are taking some artificial hormones to stop our menstruation cycle or to prevent ourselves to become pregnant, that's already not a cycle. Even if we are bleeding, that's not women's cycle. It's very artificially adding hormones into our body, and our body is gonna work a little bit differently, and the bleeding is not menstruation. Just because we're bleeding doesn't mean that we're menstruating truly, but I don't want to talk about it today. You can look it up, you can check out more information if you are interested in it. If you are interested in more of the topic on the contraception, leave a comment and I will be happy to make another video about that topic. So what is our cycle? The real cycle that is happening without our intervention? What is happening is that right after we stop menstruating, we are getting into what's called follicular phase. And the follicular phase is a very active phase. We are full of energy because our estrogen and testosterone is rising up in our body, so we feel way more energy, we feel energized and very driven and pretty happy usually, and very social, and we like to be around people, we like to start new projects. In a simple way, we're very active. So the follicular phase can be around 7 to 10 days, depends on the length of our cycle. Then there is ovulation phase, which is the ovulation itself, and that can be around 2 to 4 days. It depends. During the ovulation time, our estrogen and the testosterone is on the highest point, and that's when the egg is released and it's waiting to be fertilized, making its journey through the tubes into our womb. And then luteal phase, that is the longest. It can be 10 to 14 days, and that's before the menstruation. What's happening during this phase is that the estrogen and testosterone in our body starts to decrease, and progesterone is starting to slowly rise up in our body. Because during this time, if the egg would be fertilized, our body naturally wants to lower the immunity because it doesn't want to prevent potentially the egg to be refused. our immunity gets lower and we naturally need a little bit more calories to take in, to eat, because if the egg would be fertilized, the body needs to nurture the egg and to prepare it for the egg nesting. I don't know if it's correct, probably not, but I don't really know how to say it in English. Because our hormones are changing, we can become, and our energy is getting lower, we can become way more irritable and way more easily distracted or feel anxious and a little nervous and critical. During this time, women can be experiencing what we call PMS, premenstrual syndrome, when we're way more irritable, we might be experiencing some cramps or like uncomfortable bloating or feeling. The thing is though, just because it's very common that we feel uncomfortable or irritable or we can feel cramps and bloated, doesn't mean that it's normal. It's happening a lot, but it's due to our inconsistency about our mental health, what we do for our own mental health and our well-being, what we put into our body physically, also what we eat, because what we eat very much correlates with how we feel and how we experience our own bodies. And then there is menstrual phase, which is something that we all know. That's when we are bleeding, and with different color of our blood we can actually also differentiate how much hormones, or like if we have maybe too much of some hormone in our body or too little. And it can be actually very helpful to know what it means, what the color of our blood represents. And we all know that during this time we are way more sensitive than usual, we are way more tired, and we need naturally more rest. I started mapping my cycle because I wanted to understand myself better, and I wanted to understand women in general better. I feel that in our society we are pushed pretty harshly to be driven and to be goal-oriented all the time. There isn't much space for resting. I feel like workaholism is glorified somehow, and to all the time show results and be driven is very much appreciated. There isn't much emphasis on really truly taking care of yourself, which very much is connected to a good rest, because when we're rested we're pretty much better people. Because when we sleep enough, when we are dealing with our stress, when we're rested, we can deal with stress way better. We are more patient, we're more confident, we're more self-aware, and I believe that that should be our focus. For the longest time I was trying to lose weight and it was not working, or I lost some weight and then I gained it all back, and I lost some more and then I gained it all back, and it was just this vicious cycle, and it was very frustrating and it made me pretty desperate. I didn't know what to do, and I knew that there must be a better way to lose weight without all the crazy restrictions and just making myself miserable. And then I found a book that is called In the Flow, that was written by Alisa Vitti. I also went through a course that is called Wild Fit by Eric Adamson, and it started making more and more sense to me that I really need to focus on my health, and mainly to focus on my well-being and not to lose weight. Because the more I wanted to lose weight, the more I was stuck. And once I started focusing on my health and my well-being, as a side effect, I started losing the weight. Because when we are well, our body adapts to what we are doing and how we are treating the body. So the body always just follows what we are doing. If we are doing crazy diets, if we are basically torturing the body, then the body can do it for some time, but then it's gonna go back to where it was because we didn't change how we think, and therefore we didn't change our lifestyle. And what we do on a daily basis determines how we're gonna look and how we're gonna feel. And it's all connected. So what I realized is that women and men are different, and our body works differently. And we have to consider it, especially when it comes to diet and exercising, because, as I said, those different phases that we're going through determines our level of our energy as well. So if we're trying to push hard throughout, let's say, menstrual phase, when we're not feeling energized and we're not feeling like ready, we're gonna be pushing so hard with a lot of effort and way less result. And if we can actually start giving ourselves the space to be just who we are in the phases that we are gonna be much happier, much more relaxed, and much more productive as well. Because throughout those different phases, we have different skill sets that kind of like rise up. And once we start focusing on those and we started using them, we can actually become more productive and better than if we're trying to push hard throughout the cycle just the same, because we're not gonna perform the same. That's just impossible. Really, trust me, it's impossible. And it's not about being some negative Mary. It's about just stating a fact. Naturally, physically, we are changing, and our energy changes and our performance changes, and it's okay. We have to accept, if we want to be happy and if we want to be more balanced and harmonious and happier, we have to accept the fact that we are changing. Even men have cycles. I guess it's not so obvious, and the changes aren't as apparent and as dramatic as women's bodies change. So this is very important, and that's why I'm making this video, because I would like you to understand how important it is to truly accept that men and women are different, our bodies are different, and we're gonna perform differently, especially throughout different phases of our cycle. Once we can accept this, and once we can understand that it's essential for our well-being and our health and our happiness, then we can start implementing changes into our schedules. Because once we understand at the beginning of our cycle, after the menstruation phase, we are super active, we have a lot of energy, we can easily start new projects and new business and new things without a special effort. And then when we're in our ovulatory phase, we are super social and we like to be around people usually, and we enjoy talking to people and being with people. We're usually feeling super good about ourselves, very confident and very happy, and that time is great for maybe closing a contract, or talking to new people, cooperating, and finding the best possible way for everybody involved. When we are in our luteal phase, we have to slow down a little bit. We cannot perform as we did in our active phase and ovulatory phase, so we have to slow down a bit, and we have to give ourselves a little bit more nurturing and a little bit more time. We are very much focused on details, and this time is perfect for cleaning up, organizing things, finishing projects, and nurturing ourselves and the loved ones around us. When we nourish our body and our soul throughout this time, we don't necessarily have to experience any cramps or bad feelings just before the menstruation and during, because our body naturally needs a little bit more space to rest a little more, and it just needs maybe not meeting so many people anymore and just being truthful to ourselves and being more authentic. Because in our active phase, we can swallow a lot of things and we can deal with it, and it's not a problem usually. But during this time, when we're focused on the detail, we can be very critical, which is very good sometimes, and it's important to point out things that are not working and that are not practical, or basically things that don't work. During our menstrual phase, we become super intuitive. That's where the sensitivity comes from. We are so sensitive because we are in tuned to ourselves, our body, our surroundings, and that's why we're hyper sensitive usually. And when we can use this for our advantage, as really giving ourselves some time to reflect and sit down a little bit and just rest and listen to our intuition, what is best for us, where can we go, try to focus on our goals and what is our vision for not only next month but maybe next year or years. We are gonna use this time very wisely, and it's gonna be a good payback. Once we start to understand that there isn't right or wrong, we're simply changing, and it's okay, and it's actually to our advantage, and we can use those, as Elisabeth calls it, superpowers. We can be nourished and happy and overall well throughout the whole cycle. We don't have to enjoy only just some parts. And in a lot of climates, we recognize different seasons. So we recognize spring, summer, fall, and winter, and we can actually very much compare those seasons to our cycle that is natural to us. So once we understand that those changes are natural and they're happening and there's nothing that we can do to stop it, only maybe with the contraception, and we accept the changes and that they can actually help us. It's about not creating resistance to our natural self, what is natural to our body and our cells, and to go with the flow, really. Because the more we go with what's happening and how we're changing, the happier we're gonna be, the kinder we can become to ourselves and to others, and we can truly start living our potential that we're meant to live. So this is my take on it today. I'm happy that you stayed here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in those topics and more, and you would like to know more, just leave a comment. I'll be happy to read it and answer. And I'm looking forward to see you in a couple weeks on Wednesday again. Have a great day. Bye!